To Be Persuaded. Written by Just Thinking Drabbles. Read by Arashi. When the door to the boba shop opened, a jingle rang through the room to indicate the arrival of customers as Hubert and his boyfriend Ferdinand stepped inside. It wasn't a very large establishment, and minus space for the register and kitchen, there were only room for a few tables and some chairs placed in odd and slightly cramped angles. Yet somehow, the place possessed a cozy feeling to it that Hubert couldn't deny. Soft music played in the background, some sort of pop song he didn't recognize, and though he didn't care for it all that much, it was soothing as it mixed with the lighter patter of the rain against the windows. He was thankful for the heater that warmed up the shop, and it took away the winter chill that caused him to shiver as they walked across the short parking lot in the cold rain. Well, that and Ferdinand's hand, which was holding his tightly as he led him through, towards the counter. Ferdinand came here often, and he knew the menu by heart, but Hubert had never once had boba, after which telling him said fact is what had led them to here in the first place. Contrary to what one might assume, he was not averse to trying it. It was simply the fact that he hadn't had much of an opportunity to do so before. He was curious to try one of the many flavors, and though he wasn't sure if he would like it, he knew it would be worth it to see Ferdinand's face light up as he watched him with barely contained excitement. Just the thought of seeing his delighted expression made Hubert smile. When one of the employees came to the register and asked them what they would like, he was grateful that Ferdinand was the one to order, a brown sugar boba for himself, and a matcha-flavored one for Hubert. He felt absurd for it, but the truth was that he got nervous when it came to things like this. Even though they were common little interactions, they were very hard for him to get through, and they had always been. He often stuttered as he spoke and fumbled with his card or the change he was handing over when he paid, and the entire time it felt like a race that he failed to finish as quickly as possible. However, Ferdinand didn't seem to mind in the slightest, and ran the conversation as if it were a marathon, and he a professional runner. He asked the employee how their day was and complimented their outfit or their hair, and somehow always found a way to begin a topic of interest shared between the two. Such things were never Hubert's strong suit, and he was more content to stand in the background with a polite smile as his boyfriend did the chatting for them. Once their drinks were ready, they took them to a table near one of the larger windows and sat across from each other. Hubert missed the warmth of Ferdinand's hand in his, but their legs intertwining beneath the table made up for it decently enough. When at last they were settled and comfortable, and the straws were placed inside of their drinks, Hubert found his boyfriend staring at him with anticipation as he leaned his head in the palm of his hand. He couldn't help but chuckle at the adorable man before him. Really, he was blessed to be with someone as lovely and kind as Ferdinand, and it baffled him every day to think that he was his. After a moment of admiring his boyfriend, he looked down at the cup resting lazily against his palm before bringing the straw to his lips and taking a sip. The flavor, while it wasn't something he was used to, was a pleasant one, and though he hadn't expected to like the tapioca balls, he was surprised to find out that he didn't mind them either. "It's not bad," Hubert told him, and gave him a teasing smirk. "Actually, it's quite good." Ferdinand squealed happily. "I am glad to hear that. Perhaps now we can come here together more often." It was phrased like a statement, but Hubert knew it was more like a question from the way he looked at him with such pleading eyes. "I would love to," he told him without hesitation, and relished in the dazzling smile he received in return. Ferdinand brushed a strand of hair behind his ear as he went to take a drink, and hummed happily at the taste of brown sugar against his tongue. "Hubert, would you like to try it? I know you do not care much for sweet things, but, well—" He extended the drink towards him, a light blush filling his cheeks as he tilted his head. He really wasn't one for sweet things, but how could he refuse such an earnest look? "Oh, why not?" he replied as he took the cup in his hand. He knew even before drinking that the flavor would not be for him, but he didn't mind as much when a particularly intriguing thought crossed his mind after he tasted it. This was Ferdinand's cup, which the man himself had just taken a drink of, placing his mouth where Ferdinand's had been. It was almost like they had kissed, and he immediately wondered if he might like it more were it the lingering taste off of Ferdinand's lips instead. The realization caused him to panic and accidentally swallow the drink wrong, causing him to cough. Ferdinand looked at him with worry, but Hubert allayed him with a wave of his hand, and once the coughing had subsided, he gave him a soft smile. "Was it that bad?" Ferdinand teased. Hubert shook his head and chuckled again. He reached across the table and placed his hand over his, running his thumb across the back to reassure him. "I'm not really a fan of it, but who knows? Maybe, eventually, I can be persuaded."